privacy guy, and this is the second privacy conversation I've had in these last 2 days, and I'm excited about it because I think it's a super important topic. So I'm really pleased to introduce Jonathan Rouach, who's the founder and CEO of QEDIT, which is offering advanced privacy solutions for blockchain. Before that, he founded a blockchain security company, which was acquired. He co-founded the Israeli Bitcoin Association and co-founded Bits of Gold, the leading cryptocurrency broker in Israel. As if that's not enough, he also is the executive director for ZKProof, which standardizes zero-knowledge proofs. So
it does.
Really glad.
That's a sound test.
Really glad to have you on stage with us today, and a little bit of a thought-provoking title. Will zero-knowledge proofs be the end of financial surveillance for stablecoins? I think that's a really interesting conversation to have because we've spent the week talking about different ways that regulators have a necessary oversight duty to protect citizens within their region, make sure that their currencies aren't being used for money laundering and terrorist financing. And so thinking through how you can preserve privacy coming from the other angle, I think is super interesting. So before we get into that, maybe just tell us a little bit about QEDIT, what you guys do as a company, and then we can get into some details.
Sure. So QEDIT is a company that focuses on bringing privacy to the blockchain world. Today we're building something called Zcash shielded assets in the Zcash ecosystem. It's the ability to issue assets on the Zcash protocol and have the advantages of the full anonymity and privacy that Zcash offers, but this time for additional assets. And of course, immediately triggers a gazillion questions when people hear that this is what we're building. But it requires the work of very skilled engineers in zero-knowledge proofs, the underlying technology that underlines Zcash, and it requires actual on-the-ground delivery of advanced systems.
So before getting into ZK shielded assets, can you just define what a ZKProof is and how it protects privacy?
Sure. So QEDIT was built looking at blockchains and realizing that when you're sending a transaction on a blockchain, you're basically sending the transaction details to all the participants in the node, the different nodes in the network. And this is for a long time, and still today with tokenized ERC20 tokens, you can see everything that's going on. And so this technology secures those transaction details and makes it possible to move assets in a network without having to reveal to all the participants all the details of the transaction. So instead of having the network verify that the transaction is valid by looking at the transaction details, you verify on yourself, you kind of run a self-audit on the transaction details. You don't share the details, but you share the proof that you are sending a correct, you're answering all the requirements and sending a correct transfer. So instead of having a blockchain of transaction details, you have a blockchain of proofs that don't reveal anything to outside participants.
It's super interesting. Obviously, it's been around for a number of years. It's a lot of adoption. Tell us a little bit about these ZK shielded assets. I mean, immediately I'm thinking, are these real-world assets? Are they traditional crypto assets? What is an example of something that you're shielding?
So right now, it's a project that's in development in the Zcash ecosystem. It's the result of a grant. The Zcash ecosystem has decided that other than just transferring the ZEC token on their blockchain, they wanted the ability to have similar capabilities that exist in other other blockchains, but this time with the added benefit of having the possibility to have full privacy for your transactions. This is it's a topic that people talk about a lot, the need for privacy when you deal with with your financial life. But when it comes to practice, you really need to work hard to achieve it. You could uncover people's transactions, de-anonymize them. There's companies whose business is to de-anonymize transactions so that you can trace them. So in order to actually be able to have privacy on your financial life, you do need to have very advanced techniques. And this is a community that put this as their North Pole. First and foremost, make sure that people have that type of privacy. And then from there, try to see how do you make it easier for users to use. And in the case of what we're building, we're also interested in how to do this responsibly so that what we're building doesn't serve nefarious uses. And of course, it's a huge topic.
Yeah. So let's pivot a little bit. Before we came on stage, you were telling me a little bit about some new announcements that may be forthcoming around a privacy-shielded stablecoin, which may be the first out in the market. So maybe tell us a little bit about what you're building there.
Right. So QEDIT is a company that focuses on privacy. But before that, one of my earliest companies that I co-founded all the way back in 2013, it's called Bits of Gold. It's the largest crypto exchange in Israel. And in a collaboration between QEDIT and Bits of Gold, we are building a stablecoin that is backed by Israeli shekel. And the particularity of this stablecoin is that it is going to actually explore on the ground how do you have a stablecoin that has those privacy properties that make it much closer to cash. If we are to talk about a digital dollar or actual replacements for the gesture of moving cash, we do want to have the ability to transact without revealing everything we do to everyone. And this is right now a small pilot. It's very limited, but at the core, we're building a token that contains the ability to not reveal everything you do to the surrounding. And we're doing this in consultation with the regulators in Israel, because we believe that this can serve as a sort of blueprint for a real form of currency, in the future possibly CBDCs. But the challenges that on the way to there, we are facing them today.
Yeah, I just saw the BIS just published their Project Tourbillon, which is focused on cash-like privacy. I unfortunately haven't had a chance to read it today with the conference going on, but I'm excited because I think it's a really important topic to explore how privacy can be applied to everyday transactions. I mean, cash itself wasn't designed to be private. It was private because there was no logic or compute encoded into a physical bill. And so I think as we think about replicating those features in a definitionally different system, a computer-based system, we have to think about privacy much differently. And so can you talk a little bit about how you think about privacy by design and bring those features in? And then I'll give you a lead into what I'm going to ask as a follow-up is, how do you balance that against very close to home concerns around terrorist financing and things in the region?
All right, that's a big follow-up, yeah. So first of all, you cannot add privacy after fact. And this is something that, in Zcash, they realized pretty quickly that if you want to have privacy for your transactions, you first need to build something extremely robust and then provide the ability to issue viewing keys or work around proving compliance or things of the sort. But you cannot have a system that keeps privacy if it has the ability to unveil for certain parties, because if you have that ability, that button will be pressed and those transactions will be revealed, and the trust of the users can be lost. So anything that balances this very strong anonymity and privacy that you get from this very strong piece of technology, zero-knowledge proofs, anything that balances that needs to start from gaining the trust of users that their transactions by default are private, because no data is being sent to others in the network other than a proof that does not reveal the details of transactions. So that as a starting point is the basis. Once you have that, you can work towards, okay, but we don't want bad actors to be using these capabilities to hide what they're doing. And of course, the moment you have assets that represent dollars or anything that looks like that, you will have a utility that's so appealing that people will try to use it for nefarious things. Luckily, I'm following this very closely, like the volumes or the numbers. This is largely not the case today. Zcash is not the place of choice for nefarious activities, but we are taking the development of such software very seriously. It's a very powerful set of tools. So the way we think about it is you want to have, on the one hand, a system where the basis is safe and private, and you don't want a button that can be pressed with no man in the loop, so you can just leave it glued, pressed down, and reveal all the transactions in the millions. And this is a core requirement. On the other hand, most of the users of those ecosystems do realize that such a strong anonymity can provide tools for bad actors to use. So they're okay with revealing some very small amount of transactions if there's a strong, compelling reason to do it. And they're even okay with not regulating what is that strong reason. This, I know that from conversations in those ecosystems. They assume that the moment, if there are mechanisms to, let's say, we'll call it docs, like reveal transactions from 100 addresses every 10 minutes. Well, most likely the petty tax evader is not going to end up in those 100 transactions. So there could be mechanisms where you would have some kind of interaction with law enforcement and compliance, but without having a full-blown surveillance system that just sees everything. I find it interesting that many people in the space talk about privacy and the need for privacy, but that trade-off is extremely delicate. And the work to find something that could work is just a field of landmines, to come back to that imagery. So yes, it's close to home because we're not keen on building a network that would serve for fundraising for bad things. But we do believe, as was repeated here many times, that you cannot build something that would replace cash if you don't give the users a reason to trust that their data is not mined continuously and being surveilled.
So a little bit more on this, and I know you mentioned you're in the pilot phase, so this is not production. Many things could change. How are you thinking about things like blacklists and preventing? Let's just focus on the known versus the the unknown. But how are you preventing bad actors that are known, and then how are you unmasking those transactions when they have somehow been identified as needing to for valid law enforcement reasons?
So in terms of blacklisting, there's already examples out there of designs that kind of work. We're lucky with Zika shielded assets and with this stablecoin. It's one piece of it is centralized, which is the issuance and the redemption of the token. So if someone comes to us with a regular bank shekel and wants a digital shekel, we know who they are, and if they come back with a digital shekel and tell us, I would like a regular bank shekel, we can ask them questions. Well, where did you get this digital token, and where has it been? And convince us that it hasn't been doing bad things. So there is a central actor that bears the responsibility of managing the asset that they issued, and that's the case for any asset that you would issue on ZSAs or on for the case of the stablecoin. So when you have that, you can have also a blacklist that is associated with this asset, and we've seen examples with USDC where there's very tight collaboration between the operational team of USDC and any three-letter agency that wants to prevent crime, this is actually the easy part. The more problematic part is how do users convince the issuer that their token has been in the right places if all of those transactions have been shielded. So what do you do with the protocol to let people have some form of traceability when the traceability doesn't come directly from looking at the blockchain? And these are tools that need to be added. There's a whole aspect of identity management to it. And once you start talking about identity, you know, it's a huge topic. Zcash altogether avoided talking about identity, and we'll need to address it.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to seeing the results of this first pilot. I mean, it'll be the first privacy-preserving stablecoin, which will be super interesting to see, you know, the response to that. We're getting close to time here. For folks at home, again, privacy is a broad concept. People don't even know where to begin. What are some topics or rabbit holes people should dive down as they start to think about the intersection of privacy and digital currencies broadly?
Yes, people don't tend to think about their financial privacy too much because the place you meet this the use of money, you trust the actors that you work with. So we heard in the past few days, you know, Visa, MasterCard, they basically have all the transactions of most people around the world, and somehow people, you know, live with it. We do recognize that that data is being used to target us commercially or you know, to try to figure out what we do as citizens, but most people don't put too much attention to that. It's a bit different when the asset that you're moving around is visible to anyone on the planet, and not just those actors that are you know, regulated and trying to keep your data safe. So you do need to add or to work the privacy into those protocols from the very first moment. One thing that I would add is you need this trust in the technology to be all the way to the mathematics. So one of the things that we've done at QEDIT very early on is we, with the help of the inventors of zero-knowledge proofs, we launched the standardization of zero knowledge. This is called ZKProof.org. And this is the place where we try to reassure the users of zero knowledge that the promise that this is safe comes all the way from the mathematics. So you have the professors and the academics debating what are the security parameters of the zero knowledge proof schemes. And then you have the libraries that are out there being proposed and reviewed, and all the way to the applications. This is work that's been done with NIST to try to figure out what could go and become a standard for zero knowledge. And once you talk about a standard in zero knowledge, this is something that can be applicable to CBDCs and banks more widely.
Awesome. And I think there might be an event for folks heading back to DC that might be interested in learning more.
Right. So just tomorrow, Thursday, we have an event called ZKProof Policy, where we're examining exactly how do you develop zero knowledge in a responsible way, where the part of the participants are, let's say, academics and industry leaders, and another part is regulators and law enforcement. And we'll actually be talking about what does it mean to have law enforcement when you don't have the tools to do just broad surveillance.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. This was really informative. I hope the folks at home enjoyed it as well, and those in the audience. And we thank you again for your time.
Thank you.